first topic this evening is about racism.
Here we go.
It's the #1 topic in America. In fact, if you look at Twitter, or the Google machine, as Joe Scarborough from Morning Joe says at MSNBC, racism is the #1 word being referenced in the United States. And tonight we're going to talk about it. Our question is about, is America racist, from what we learned from the election? And equally important, is the gay community racist? Both questions. So, before we begin, let me put some context in this and show you something that MSNBC's 11th Hour did about Donald Trump's reference to black reporters in America. Watch this package first.
When you're in the White House, this is a very sacred place to me. This is a very special place. You have to treat the White House with respect. You have to treat the presidency with respect.
On the campaign trail, you called yourself a nationalist. Some people saw that as emboldening white nationalists. Now people are also saying
I don't know why you'd
that
say that. It's such a racist question. You just have to sit down, please. Sit down. I didn't call you. I didn't call you.
Do you want him to rein in Robert Mueller?
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions. The same thing with April Ryan. I watch her get up. I mean, you talk about somebody that's a loser. She doesn't know what the hell she's doing.
These are three terrific reporters. Two of them have been on this broadcast. The one the president called stupid today did pretty well at Harvard, I understand. What are we watching going on here?
Well, we're watching a couple things. Politically, obviously, race baiting, racism is something that Trump feels very comfortable with. He feels that it's a way for him to connect with the deepest red of his base. That's a sad statement about where we are in American politics. Race baiting, racism is something.
All right, as you can see, race is a big issue coming right from the president on down. We watched this in the election. I've watched Facebook in the last week. Even our hosts have been, how do I say it, very vocally involved, even in communicating with themselves about whether they're racist or not. What do y'all think about what is going on in America?
Okay, well, let me start off by saying that most certainly racism is alive and well in America. In our gay community, racism exists. And I think that this election, especially in Florida, reflected a lot of racism. I really, I'm going to go ahead and say, I think that right now the Republican Party has really turned into the party of racists. Now, that being said, are there Democrats that are racist? Yes, of course. But I think the difference is that racists seem to, kind of migrate toward the Republican Party right now because of their stances and because of their message. Whereas racists that are in the Democratic Party are racist despite our message. And I think that's the difference. And the reason I say that I think right now the Republican Party has become the party of racists is because, A, look at their president. The president is a racist. This whole debate, at least among our cast, really kind of started a couple weeks ago when I made a post in our It's Happening Out page, the question of the day, which, by the way, if you guys don't ever go to our page, you should go to our page.
Make sure to follow.
Check out my questions of the day, very interesting. And one of the questions I asked was, do you think that Trump is a racist? And I made it a poll. And one of our co-hosts, Napoleon, who will answer in a second.
I guarantee
I guess he had inadvertently probably clicked yes or no, and that fueled a lot of people wanting to hear his explanation.
So I'll take over here because it was a yes or no question. I was scrolling through because I was doing my due diligence to make sure I'm taking part in the page. I accidentally clicked no. I very much believe that Trump is a racist. You have to make sure you check me out when I play him. It's the worst character I've ever played. He is very racist. That
Wait,
said,
let me get your plug in. Napoleon Plays, Mr. President. We're not doing the segment tonight, but last week you did a great job in playing the President of the United States in his own words. Yeah.
but the reality is that he is racist, but he's not just racist. He's bigoted in just about every possible way. He's misogynist, he is classist,
Yes.
he is anti-Semitic, he is just plain bigoted. And that was part of the reason that I had issue with the other part of the conversation that was brought up, and that was by Aaron, I think, just before last week. I have an issue with using the word racism when it's not about race, because what that does is shut people off. They might not be racist, they might be racist, but if you use that word, that flamethrower, and they don't identify with it, all you're doing is targeting people's ears away. You're losing your platform.
And that beautifully leads me right into...
Wait. She beat you to. All right, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
Because
Hold on, I'm going to stop you. You beat him to it. Go
that
ahead.
leads me actually beautifully into exactly what I wanted to bring up, which is that racism as a word, we need to stop being afraid of and offended by the word racism, because yes, I absolutely used that word and I absolutely meant it. Yes, he's absolutely bigoted in all these other ways, and racism is a part of that, absolutely. But I specifically referred to him as, or not even just to him, but the voters of the Republican Party's candidates as racist, because it was to illustrate the fact that even though people can be women, people can be gay, people can be trans, people can be all of these other marginalized groups, and will still vote seemingly against their own interests because of racist ideals and racist foundations.
That has no foundation or backing. There's nothing that proves that at all.
You're wrong.
That proves what?
No.
Wait. I want to hear what you're saying.
Your statement is that because people have foundations and backing of racism, they're automatically going to vote Republicans.
No, that's not what I said at all. That's not what I said at all.
What did you say?
I said that a lot of people will vote against their own interests despite being marginalized because they are racist.
So
they're
you're
voting
saying,
for racist. I don't care if they're Republican.
So you're saying vote tribal regardless of what your foundation
No,
beliefs
I'm saying don't
are.
vote for racist and identify your racism within yourself.
Okay, but you made statements this week.
No, don't tell me what I said.
No, I know.
Because I know what I said.
I know what you said because you called
my words
DeSantis.
very, very carefully.
Yes, you did. But you called DeSantis a racist.
I sure did. Yes.
And you called Scott a racist.
I sure did.
And you took everything that you quoted completely out of context of what they said.
Well, hold on.
No,
and so that's wrong.
The context, like at the anti-Muslim rally that
you came
DeSantis
at me.
spoke at?
You came at me. Okay, and I will grant you. Okay. Obama was at the Congressional Black Caucus, and the picture was taken of him there. But what you also failed to quote was that in 1995, Obama walked with Louis Farrakhan, okay, and spent a lot of time trying to backtrack and say, no, I was only interested in supporting him in self-empowerment and owning your own game.
I recognize
But no, hang on a second, because with that, okay, I would say, okay, is it okay to say that now Obama endorses Louis Farrakhan? No, because there's not an explicit endorsement. Okay, he tried to distance himself.
But DeSantis explicitly endorses.
And here's
but he did not.
He did.
The comment,
within the last month, even.
The
last 2 to 3 months,
comments
especially.
that were made
DeSantis
are wrong.
embrace Louis Farrakhan?
No, not Louis Farrakhan, but racist leaders.
Here's why it's
alt-right leaders.
Okay, so
here's why it's important to listen to the actual words that we use.
One at a time, because I would like to hear every word.
Here's why it's important to listen to the actual words that we use, and why using the word racist can either turn people off or not. It's not about what people hear. You, 3 weeks ago now, Aaron, were very specific about wanting to be called male, because that's how you identify, and every other member on this cast has messed up and has called you a she at some point. I have not. I have not, because words have power and they're potent. And if I say something to you that's like that, it causes you to completely miss the point if I gathered what you said the other day. If you call someone a racist when they're being bigoted, you're diminishing your own point.
But I was addressing racists. I was addressing specifically racists.
Some acts of racist, but you broadened it to be...
You chose to want to change my message or perceive my message to be about a broader topic.
Let me provide
a broad brush of a whole bunch of people and calling them a racist because you've made.
Yes, because they're racist. Listen, racism isn't always wearing a hood and carrying a tiki torch.
No, sometimes it's
Racism
like that
comes-
comment to me that said that little white boy. That's also racist. Am I going to sit here and say everything that she had to say was racist? No.
you say
But
that?
no.
I did not.
One of your friends on that same thing said, "Oh, who wants to listen to that little white boy?" I'm not going to sit here and complain about it being
Somebody in the string said
Somebody
that.
on the string said that.
No, wait. Let me provide
still
some context.
racist.
Let me provide some context. There was a discussion after the Tuesday election about the issue of what we saw in Florida specifically, and around the country in general, about how there was a predominant white vote that appeared in argument to be very racist. And in this string that Aaron started, we had quite an argument and debate among cast members, and it seemed like that the two of you had a particular point of view, and the two of you had a particular point of view, and it was different.
Well, I had a point of view, and he had a point of view. We're lumping things together that
Okay.
might not make sense,
Okay.
because I certainly don't know what you were trying to say, but I doubt it was what I was
I'm
trying
not
to say.
just going to sit here and hush my mouth. First of all, it also happened on my post. So I made a post. On my post, what I said was that Florida's vote shows that they're racist again. And I used the word racist, and here's why. Because for me, it all comes down to who people are voting for ultimately. This whole election has been a referendum on Trump. And Trump is a racist.
And I disagree with
Okay,
that.
well,
That's okay.
Okay,
Don't.
well,
That's the
I'm
point.
not just saying he's a racist because I
is a
just
racist.
want to throw that word around. My husband is white, blonde hair, and blue eyed, so I love white men. Trust me, I do.
My partner's
All right,
white too,
so
for the record.
I'm not saying that just because. I'm saying that because he has years.
Oh, that's a tiny print.
He has years, starting with the 70s, of racist rhetoric and behavior. In 1973, the Department of Justice sued his ass
So let me ask you
for
hang on
housing discrimination.
Hang on 1 second. So if somebody says something in 1973
yeah.
and they're of an older
And
generation,
don't stop
every
him.
year
And
since.
hold on,
And
hold
every year
on,
since.
hold on. Don't stop
Hang
him
on.
this time because he left off with this point the last time we had this, and I really want to answer this.
All right, let's hear you, Joe.
So if you start off with that in 1973, and there is lots of variations in how that's reported, and if there is. I did my research too. So if you start off and say because in 1973 you said this, therefore you are racist and you're disqualified today in 2018. That's bullshit.
Well, that's not his
bullshit.
case. That's not the case with him.
And how does
That's not the case with him because it's from 1973 to 2018.
Okay, so let me ask you, Power.
To
2018.
But today,
he's been a consistent racist.
That's not
Now,
true.
It's true. It's true. It's
Okay,
true.
so
because
From
in
that,
this video,
from that,
hold on one second.
very
Hold
fine
on.
people.
Hang on a second.
From that
In this
very
video-
fine people, David Duke. When he refused, I sat there and watched.
Okay.
I didn't need it to be replayed. I sat there one Saturday morning with my own two eyes and watched him fumble over a question that should have been very, very easy to field when Jake Tapper asked him if he would denounce David Duke. The man acted, he was stuck on stupid. Oh, I don't know anything about David Duke. I don't know what are you talking about? Who doesn't know who David Duke is in the KKK? That should have been a very easy question for him
So
to answer.
let me ask
but
you
it's
this
not if
directly,
you're
Power.
Racist.
So is it just as
He did
racist
announce
then?
that over time.
Wait.
He was very clear.
Ask the question.
He was clear on that.
Wait, hold on 1 second.
So then it was one of your friends' response, and it wasn't you. It's not your words. I just want to ask you. When one of your friends to a response, I accidentally like, no, he's not racist. Yes, I believe Trump is racist. He's bigoted in every way I can conceive. But if they say, oh, I don't want to hear what this privileged little white boy has to say, how is that not being demeaning, condescending, and in itself racist?
Oh, it is.
Okay, but so
Wait,
you
you
can
agree
vouch
with
for
that?
that.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so fighting racism with racism, what is that going to do?
It allows
Then
me.
you ask that person, not me, because
exactly.
I
Wait.
You need to ask that
It
person,
allows
not me,
me-
because what we're not going to do is we're not going to do this whataboutism stuff. So I already told you guys last week that I call a right and a wrong. So if somebody says something racially discriminatory to you, it's wrong.
Here's
it's
my
wrong no matter
question
where
then.
it comes from.
Here's
but
my
let's talk
question.
about the president. What
I-
that
Right.
person said to you does not affect me.
Here's
the
my
president affects
question.
me.
want your point of view.
Here's my question. Here's my question. Is it possible if you are minority represented, that you are the only person that can speak on the subject of racism, and therefore, if you are identified as white, you cannot speak on racism.
I think it's actually exactly the opposite. I think as a white person or non-black person, because the Latino community has plenty of anti-black racism rampant in it.
Okay.
So I want to put that right out there, right off the bat. We all need to be identifying these things within ourselves. We were raised by a society that benefits white people and that discredits and disadvantages people of color. Plain and simple, you cannot deny that. That's what our country has been built on. It's one of the many things, granted, but it is one of the foundations. And if you can't look into yourself and say, yeah, maybe I was taught some racist shit, and maybe I need to identify and unpack that, then we can never move forward from this. So if you're a white person, yes, in fact, I believe it's your duty to be talking about.
You hit the bullseye for me, because as I watch all of you discuss since last Tuesday's vote and the issue of racism, my family is from Southwest Virginia. And frankly, I grew up in a family circle that I recognize today was racist. But I do not think I have implemented racism anywhere in my life. But the challenge of what I've heard in words over the last week and a half is because I am a white boy, I am inherently racist, which is what the conversation has moved.
I don't believe that because you're white you cannot talk about racism. Here is what I believe, however. I don't like and I do not believe that somebody that is white, that will never know my struggle, can speak to me about what I feel is racist and what I recognize as racist. You are not an expert on racism. You can speak about racism, but don't try to be more of an expert on racism than me.
I want to ask this specific question to you two, because withdrawing my position, you're two generally, broadly, you're two white representatives in this conversation. To what Power just said, how does that resonate to you in terms of how you respond to the subject of racism and your participation being white?
I think that a lot of what Aaron said is correct, that we all have to check our own privileges, whatever they may be, and see where our own experiences may have given us higher gratitude than we might have otherwise gotten. But I don't like being looked at just because I'm a blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy. I'm also Jewish. I receive anti-Semitic comments all the damn time. I also grew up in Baltimore, where being white was a minority. So there are a lot of different aspects to this that I don't know your story, you don't know my story. Part of this is about us figuring it out. And we're here to have this conversation, not to try to shut down the conversation. And that's why it's so upsetting to me when you make comments like you did, Aaron, because in the future, you're an activist. People could screen cap that and just decide it means what it means and completely lose your point of view.
Because I meant what the fuck I said.
I want you to have the strongest platform you can have. And I think that you diminish your returns when you say that.
And the fact that you think that the word racism is a flamethrower, it identifies the biggest part of the problem to me. If we cannot talk about racism,
I think incorrectly using it is the flamethrower.
You know what? And that goes back to what Power said. You don't get to tell me that I'm incorrect in identifying what is and is not racist.
Do you hear that observation?
Yes, and I also looked up the definition, and what you're describing is prejudice. It's not racism.
First of all,
what you've expressed to me, if I can
you're
say
misunderstanding my post, because clearly you didn't seem to have the reading comprehension that you needed in that
Okay,
post.
I'm not going back to attacking you because I more than understood it.
You.
Racialism, racism, what you used the wrong word. What you later told me is that you knew you used the wrong word.
No, I did not.
What you told me on the phone.
What I said.
What you told me on the phone. Then tell me what you said. Was that you wanted to use the wrong word because it was incendiary, because you wanted it to start the right fires.
No, sir. I said that I used. No, you hang on a second. I said that it was an incendiary word and that it was a correct word. I used it very purposefully, very deliberately.
The definition.
So what I am
So don't tell me my intellect is down by being correct.
Nothing about your intellect.
Yes, you did.
I said you misunderstood.
I want to make an observation.
Yes,
I want to
please.
make an observation. If you just give me a moment. So what I've observed here is that we use these terms and we bring it up and we say, it's my term, I'll use it, I'm shutting you down, your voice is invalid. That is not the purpose of this discussion. This discussion is about finding the common journey that we've all walked.
No one here has said to stop talking about it. We literally all just agreed that we all need to be talking about it.
No,
and Aaron and I had also a beautiful
moment
last week where we tried to connect
Hang
the
on
bridge.
a second. What I heard was power say, you can't tell me, I know what a racist is, you can't tell me we're not going to have this discussion.
You heard half the sentence
You told
then.
me,
You heard half the
you
sentence.
told me and Napoleon the same thing, that you can't judge my words, I'll say my words, and shut the hell up.
No,
well,
I did
that does not promote
No.
dialogue. Okay,
We're having dialogue right
we're-
now.
No, we're
we
not,
are
because
having
you're
plenty
shutting
of
people
dialogue
down.
right now.
The most
no, but you're
important
not
thing
going to
is,
tell me what I said when it's not correct.
All right. Here's the thing
look,
that
we need to talk about what was your shared experience. Right? What was my shared experience? Because I guarantee you, while you have a very specific experience being black and growing up, that there's some things that are common among all of us, and what we have to find is the common journey.
in that
as opposed to
point.
being divided.
In
You
that
guys will
point,
see us explore more
I
of
want to
this
interrupt all of you
over
now.
time.
Can I suggest that the common point that we find here is in my family, in Lynchburg, Virginia, I couldn't sit around my dining table and have this conversation that took place over the last 20 minutes. So as a result, for us to express on racism, can we broadly agree it is a dramatic issue in America? And the election and our president reflects that. And second, the building blocks to move forward is to have conversations like this, even as angry as we get over the conversation. If we can agree on those 2 points, then we are able to move forward, which I want to do now.